A fresh morning to all of you, grade 6. Today, this is the second recorded session that you are going to find in the YouTube channel about our lesson, Seeing the Sky from Earth. We are in the module Astronomy and Space. This is page 5, okay? In this page, we are going to learn much about how can we see the object move in the sky. Or how can they move? Open your book, page 8, in order to understand and follow up me. So, how do objects in the sky appear to move? If we use the word appear, it means it's not a real motion. They appear to us as if they are moving. Actually, these stars and celestial bodies, they are not move as we see them. But when we look at the sky, they appear to move not because they are moving, but the reason behind that is that Earth rotates around itself. So, because of the rotation of Earth around itself, we see the stars as if they are moving. But the place or the position of these stars change from season to another, and they still not moving. That's because the Earth axis is tilted. The inclination of Earth's axis from a winter to summer, spring to autumn cause a little bit changing in their position, but actually they are not moved. In order to understand this point, we are going to watch this video.
What is a constellation? When you hear the word constellation, you might picture patterns of dots that are painted across the black sky. Some may think of mythical heroes and creatures that have been placed in the sky by ancient gods because of their legendary accomplishments. However, in modern astronomy, a constellation refers to a particular region of the sky in which groups of stars appear to be grouped together. These regions of the sky look more like borderlines of countries instead of ancient beings. However, many people can easily recognize these ancient figures like Orion, the hunter, or Scorpius the scorpion. Constellations have been reconfigured in some ways over modern times, but in essence, the ancient patterns can still be recognized today. The stories and shapes of constellations will vary depending on who is looking at them. For example, Ursa Major, which contains the asterism called the Big Dipper, has also been known to be called the Great Bear. Or perhaps you see this version of the bear. Or maybe you just see a plow instead. Remember that the story and shape of each constellation will vary depending upon each culture and what each individual sees. Most ancient civilizations, like the Babylonians, the Greeks, the Romans, and the Native Americans, lived in the northern hemisphere, so they were only able to label stars that were visible in the northern latitudes. Greco-Egyptian astronomer Ptolemy identified and cataloged more than 1,000 stars and 48 different constellations. Once European explorers started navigating their way through the southern hemisphere in the 16th century, stars in the southern skies began to be identified and cataloged. These southern constellations are known as the modern constellations, and they show far less imagination than their northern counterparts. These southern patterns were named after friends, patrons, and inventions of the time. For example, the constellation Antlia represents the air pump. It was named in the 17th century after physicist Robert Boyle, who invented the compressed air pump. The names of the southern constellations seem to have a lot less ingenuity when comparing it to the glorious northern constellations. To eliminate confusion, the International Astronomical Union gathered together in 1929 to solidify the boundaries of the constellations. Today, 88 constellations are universally recognized. Remember, constellations are rectangular slices of the sky that hold stars within that boundary. So why learn about the sky? There is much value in learning about the stars. It gives us a connection to the past, but it also paves the way for the future. As younger generations learn and pass on their knowledge, hopefully more people will become inspired to venture beyond the Earth and learn about these vast regions of space that have been viewed for thousands of years. In the past few decades, with the development of advanced technology, humans have increasingly become disconnected from these ancient stories and patterns in the sky. Not to mention that light pollution from modern civilization has blocked out many of these magnificent celestial objects. Let's review what we know. First, constellations are rectangular regions of the sky that contain patterns and shapes of stars. These stars look like they're grouped together, but in reality there lies much distance between each individual star. A total of 88 constellations are recognized in modern times. The folklore and myths surrounding the constellations varies from culture to culture. Constellations are a way to connect globally by sharing the stories and myths that have been passed down through generations.
Okay, back into our book. Now we can answer some questions. Number one, we know that this constellation or these stars, they are not moving. This is called apparent motion. And the apparent motion of objects in the sky depends on the motion of Earth, because Earth rotates around itself from west to east, from west to east. So the stars, including the sun, appear to us to move from east to west. Okay, so this is called apparent motion during the day, also caused by Earth, because the sun is one of the stars. Even it appears in the daytime, it's still the nearest star, and its apparent motion occurs because of the Earth's rotation around itself. So constellation and patterns remain the same year after year, but which one you can see varies from season to season. For example, if you see about Orion as a constellation or a group of stars, this pattern in the eastern sky on winter evening, but in spring you will see Orion in the west. Why? Disappearing below the horizon shortly after sunset. These seasonal changes are caused by the Earth's also, but this time Earth's orbit around the sun. Each night, the position of most stars shift slightly to the west. Soon you are no longer to see stars once visible in the west, and the other stars appears in the east. So because the orbit of Earth and the inclination of its axis, you can see that some changes from a season to a season, but still we saying that they are not in a motion, but this is called apparent motion because it happens because of Earth even rotation around itself or orbiting around the sun, and its axis is inclination. By this is the end of our YouTube session today. Till we meet again, thank you and goodbye.